3 different times this story came up in my life real recently. The story of the 2 wolves inside came up. For some reason, 3 times in 1 week, this has popped up into my life. Maybe you haven't heard it yet. There's a story of an old Cherokee, and he's teaching his grandson about life. He tells his grandson, there's a fight going on inside of me. It's a terrible fight, and it's between 2 wolves. One is evil, and he's got a lot of anger and envy and sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, and inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego. He continued, the other is good. He's joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. The same fight is going on inside you and inside every other person too, he tells his grandson. The grandson thought about it for a minute, and he asked his grandfather, well, which one will win? And the grandfather says, the one you feed. So I'm sure that you may have heard, I'm not going to say that. You may or may not have heard that story before. It's been around for many, many years. I don't know what the origin of it is, where it came from, but I can tell you that it's so true, especially when things aren't going as well as we'd like them to go. And the first quarter of business is not going as well as I'd like it to go. So this story came up at a good time for me to make sure that I'm feeding the right wolf inside of me. Because I don't want to feed the wrong one, and have it overcome me with these feelings of self-pity and resentment and regret and envy and sorrow. I want to be joyous and happy. I don't want to be those. It's a constant battle that we fight within ourselves, and it's something that we always have to remind ourselves to snap out of that, so we don't go down the rabbit hole and wind up living there for too long. You know, it's natural for these thoughts to come up. It's natural for it's just the survival mechanisms going on in my head, right? They're just looking out for me, making sure that we're doing the right things, we're making the right decisions, that we're so we can avoid pain maybe in the future. But oftentimes the pain that we're hoping to avoid isn't going to happen anyways. And most of us realize this, but it's still, man, that bad wolf inside of us wants to talk a lot. And when he talks too much, he can easily coax you into going with him and listening to what he's got to say. If any of you guys are struggling right now, I can tell you we're struggling right now. The first quarter has not been what I'd like it to be. But I know it's going to turn around, and I know that it does me no good to sit and worry about it. So I really haven't spent too much time worrying about it, although these thoughts still want to creep up, and they still want to try to take me down, and I just won't let them, which can be hard. You know, it's sometimes I lose the fight. I'm going to be honest. Sometimes I lose the fight, and we all do, and it's okay. It's okay that we lose this fight once in a while. The main thing is just to get back up and to keep moving forward, and to keep not allowing to stay in that place for too long, because that's where we really start beating ourselves up and start placing the blame on ourselves and other people. A lot of times it's over stuff that hasn't even happened or isn't going to happen. Remember, always feed the good wolf. Let him win. And keep your head up, because anybody who owns a service business and in a seasonal service business like we do, if you're in HVAC, man, it can be tough to get through the slower times. So we're doing fine, but we're just nowhere close to where I'd like to be right now. So that's going to turn around the next 2 months. I'll be making a video, and this is another thing. This is about, being a business owner, especially in a service business, is we are on the entrepreneurial roller coaster, and it's a wild ride. Like, 1 minute you're up, the next minute you're ready to sell it all and quit. and it's been like this as long as I can remember. So it's something that we have to live with and get used to and be able to overcome if we're going to actually see some real success in our lives. We have to stay on the horse and keep riding, because that's how it's won. That's how the battle's ultimately won. Is just learn, improve, learn, improve, learn, improve. One more thing I wanted to tell you guys is just that I've really struggled with, and I understand all of this stuff, but I really struggle with just making a decision about what I want. What I want from my life, what I want it to look like. And I totally understand this, and I've done lots of work on myself trying to get through this. Here recently, I felt like I just wasn't specific enough. I need to be specific. Like, I know what I want the business to do. I know what I want my body to look like health-wise. I know what I want my relationships to look like with my spouse. I've really been getting more specific with it, because I want to make sure that I'm focusing on the right things. And that goes with the business as well, just my business and my personal life, to just focus on the right things. I'll leave you with one question. What areas of your life would you say need more focus from you right now? Think about that. Write it down. Decide. Make a decision. Don't worry about the how. Like, whatever it is that you decide, like, okay, well, I need to focus on this. Well, then after you decide what you need to focus on, make specific goals, the specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-bound goals, the SMART goals. I think that's the best way to set goals. You actually know the deadline. You know when you want it to happen. But here's the thing, is we all get hung up on the how. We're always worried about the how. Like, how is that going to happen? I can't. So your mind has a hard time wrapping itself around some of your goals, because they may look completely different than what your life looks right now. But that's where you add one more habit into your life, then another, then another, then another, and pretty soon things start changing, and they start changing in your favor. And you're actually designing your life, and it's actually something that you've completely directed to go in the way that you wanted it to go. Once you get that and you get some momentum, then you gain more confidence. Like, it's just an endless cycle of goodness when you really just take the time to just focus. What areas do I need to focus on? And then get specific about what you want. So I've taken some time recently to just think a little deeper about exactly what I want and why. Why do I want it? What do I want my life to look like? What do I want it to be? These are things where I had broad overview, general answers to. And although I've known that I've needed to get specific, I just hadn't taken the time. I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm chasing shiny objects all the time. I'm always looking for the next greatest, latest thing, and that takes my focus away from what's really important. Hope this helped. Hope you set some SMART goals for yourself. Remember, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. Put a time limit on it. Be specific. And then start taking action. Go make money.